Stonehenge of the UK was a hunting hotspot long before the monument was built. The region was an important hunting and grazing area for Mesolithic cultures. Long before Neolithic people erected Stonehenge's majestic blue stones and sarsen stones, Mesolithic or Middle Stone Age hunter-gatherers frequented the site, using it as a hunting ground. Later, farmers and monument builders moved into the region, and the new study finds earlier research studied that before Stonehenge was built, the surrounding landscape included a closed canopy forest. There has been a long-standing, long-running debate as to whether the monumental archaeology of Stonehenge was created in an uninhabited forested landscape or whether it was constructed in an already partly open area of pre-existing significance to late Mesolithic hunter-gatherers, the researchers wrote in the study. Now, I've been to England many times, and there's a lot of fields that are completely barren of forest, of woodlands, because there's a lot of farmland there, grazing land and farmland. I don't know if it's because they cut down the forest because there are Dark Age and medieval wars between Scotland, Ireland, and England. I have no idea. But anyway, now the new research shows that the area was historically an open woodland where large herbivores such as aurochs and extinct cattle species once grazed. Given the site's high use over time, it's likely that there was continuity between Mesolithic hunter-gatherers and the Neolithic or New Stone Age monument builders, the researchers find. In other words, it's not as if Stonehenge's builders suddenly discovered the site for the first time. Rather, it appears that people had known about this spot for centuries. An early form of Stonehenge was built around 5,000 years ago, while the famous stone circle that still stands today was put together in the late Neolithic around 2,500 BC. That's about 4,500 years ago, according to the English Heritage, the UK trust that manages the site. Salisbury Plain, the plateau where Stonehenge sits, was considered a sacred area by ancient people and holds evidence of older structures dating back as far back as 10,500 years ago. The study centered around Blick Mead, an earlier hunter-gatherer spot on the edge of Stonehenge World Heritage Site. Previous excavations of Blick Mead confirmed that Mesolithic people settled there prior to 8,000 BC, that's 10,000 years ago, and the new research suggests that humans continued to use this area into the Neolithic period. To investigate Blick Mead, Samuel Hudson, a researcher at the University of Southampton in the UK. So Samuel Hudson and colleagues dug a newly opened trench at the site, and they analyzed ancient pollen, spores, and DNA, as well as animal remains found within the samples to learn more about how ancient people used the land during the late Mesolithic between 5,200 BC and 4,700 BC, so that's about over 7,000 years ago. Their analysis revealed that the area used to have damp meadow conditions that sat next to an open grassland with a deciduous woodland close by, the team wrote in the study. Wild animals would have grazed in those open fields, and hunter-gatherers communities that lived there 4,000 years ago, prior to Stonehenge's construction, would have then hunted, and the grazers, the researchers found. So that's a hunting ground there. Now, the Stonehenge World Heritage Site is globally recognized for its rich Neolithic and Bronze Age monumental landscape, but little is known of its significance to Mesolithic populations. Why did they build it? The study's authors said in a statement, but now it's clear that hunter-gatherers had already chosen part of this landscape and alluvial clearing as a persistent place for hunting and occupation. Again, why did they build the Stonehenge monument? So this study here was published April 27 in the journal PLOS ONE. It's on Live Science by Jonathan Gordon. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. But why was Stonehenge built? Benjamin Plackett, Live Science, says, Stonehenge, perhaps the most famous of all the Henges, vast circular monument constructed from wood or stone, that litter the British countryside. The prehistoric monument here in Stonehenge was most likely erected in what is now England sometime between 3000 BC and 2000 BC. That's 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. And some of the stones were transported all the way from neighboring Wales. So it's no small feat for a Stone Age civilization. It must have surely been a gargantuan effort, and it begs the question, why on earth did they bother? Why did Stone Age people build so many henges? The short answer is that I don't know, and neither does anyone else. Rosemary Hill, historian and author of Stonehenge Profile Books in Harvard University Press 2008, says, nobody knows why Stonehenge was built. And before we go any further, it's important to note that, technically speaking, Stonehenge isn't even a henge. The word henge is, in fact, a relatively recent term, first defined by British archaeologist Thomas Kendrick in 1932, to mean a circular bank with a ditch inside it and one or more entrances protruding through the bank. But Stonehenge is the other way around. It's a bank inside the ditch, Hill told Live Science. And another fun fact, even ignoring the reverse order of ditch and bank, most henges still would not have looked like Stonehenge because they were usually made from wood, which makes sense. Wood is everywhere, and it's much easier to carve and transport, even if it's not as durable. It was not until the 20th century that archaeologists realized that Britain once boasted a bounty of wood henges that have long since rotted away and vanished from sight. First, the First World War. After the First World War, when people started flying over the country, they started to see where these constructions had been because they left traces on the ground with their mounds. People had not really noticed anything like that until they got a bird's eye view from the airplanes, Hill said. They're also pretty much unique in Britain. In Ireland and the Brittany region of France, there are also some similarly ancient stone circles, which, though technically not henges, do overlap in academic discussion. There's also a wooden henge-like monument dating to the late Stone and early Bronze Age that's not too far from Berlin in Germany, a 4,500-year-old timber circle monument in Portugal. If we're counting all of these different types of circles together, they are thought to be thousands sprinkled around the British Isles and parts of mainland Europe. So back to the question in hand, why all these henges? Researchers proposed myriad ideas over the years, suggesting that monuments like Stonehenge were used as sacred hunting grounds, places of community gathering, astronomical calendars, structures for sound amplification, cemeteries, or even havens for ancient healing. Excavations offer supporting evidence for some of these claims. Hill explained they found human remains of Stonehenge, so that's strong evidence it was a burial site and is orientated to the sunset during winter solstice. So I think you can say it is to do with the dead and the solstices. It's not unreasonable to think of it as a ritual site, and there's no evidence of people eating or living there. But it is not the case for other henges, such as the Durrington Walls, which incidentally is just 2 miles from Stonehenge and does contain evidence of people feasting there, apparently on pork. Henges could have been used for different reasons, but I don't know, and no anyone else can tell you for sure is being overambitious, Hill said. What henges do seem to have in common is that they don't seem to have been enclosed, and they may have been gathering places. This uncertainty may feel like an anticlimactic answer to the question of why Stone Age Europeans saw fit to build so many circular monuments, but there is a sort of magic in the work, not knowing, Hill said. Stonehenge remains a mystery, and you can be a druid or an anthropologist or an archaeologist or a New Ager, and you can bring your own thing to it, giving some kind of an explanation or a theory. This is by Benjamin Plackett on Live Science. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.